The open road is calling, it's got stories to tell. I've got a few of my own flowing from a deeper well. The cherry blossoms blooming, shimmering clouds, pink and white, and I'm leaving the old things behind.
Welcome to the Midlife Capers Podcast. I'm your host, Kara Highsmith. In each episode, we will hear from people, everyday friends and neighbors kinds of people, who have taken on some sort of adventure in midlife. Maybe it's a creative project where they explore a previously hidden talent. It might be pulling up stakes and moving to a new, unexpected location just because. It could be changing the way they show up in the world. The point is, they are doing something that pushes them outside their comfort zones, responding to those internal nudges, allowing themselves and their lives to take a different shape than they imagined. I hope you will find their stories inspiring, perhaps motivating, and keep coming back as we have new conversations. Welcome back to the Midlife Capers Podcast. My guest today is Brianna Latham, and we went to high school together, but didn't know each other all that well. So I'm really excited to catch up with you and learn about what has been going on in your world. The first thing I ask always is, what did life look like before 50? Because what we're talking about in the podcast is people who have made some kind of change, shake things up a little bit, try something new, whatever that may be. And so I want to start by, where were you before you made whatever this big change is?
Yeah, so I was a stay-at-home mom from 40 till 50. But before that, I was single and traveled, would pull out a map and close my eyes, circle the map. Wherever my finger landed is where I would fly to.
Wow.
So would up and drive to Florida or fly to Venezuela or go to Israel or Dublin or, so that was my life beforehand. It was about my career. It was about travel, enjoying life. And then at 40, I got married. And then at 50, I changed another leaf.
Wow. Well, yeah, it sounds like the thing you left behind is the thing that a lot of the people I'm talking to or that I hear from are seeking to do now that they're past 50 and things are changing. So tell me about what happened at 50.
Um, at 50, I was newly divorced and I had fostered 60 children.
60.
Over 60. Yeah, 60. And adopted 3, including then was a newborn at 50. I adopted a newborn and then a set of teenagers. And I had, at the time, how old were they? At the time, I had a set of twins. So I thought I was done. Been pregnant once, got twins. Life was great.
Yeah. It checked all the boxes there for you.
I checked all the boxes.
Yeah.
2 boys, amazing.
So what made you want to take on fostering and then adopting and expand, especially if you had, lost your partner and all of that to do it by yourself? What was the
What
driving
was the
force?
impetus? To be honest with you, it just felt like a calling.
Yeah.
There wasn't I knew in my 20s I wanted to be involved in foster care somehow. I was on the foster care review board, so we were an extension of the court, so we would hear cases and hot shoot them to the court as needed. So I did that, and then my career took off, and then when I started focusing on what made me happy at 50. Like, regaining my focus.
Okay.
And I'm a giver. And had such joy. Like literally, there were times when I thought my twins had saved my life
No.
for the fulfillment that they gave me. But I wanted to find fulfillment within myself that could then extend to other kids. So it's not their onus to fulfill me, but I found fulfillment in being able to provide, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it absolutely does. Well, so how old were your twins when you started taking in foster children?
I was 45,
And how old were your twins?
5.
So they grew up in a household with lots of foster siblings.
Lots. Over 60.
Yeah. What was the most you had at one time? Unbelievable. That's
And that they didn't some of the kids stayed a night, some of them stayed a year, some of them I kept,
yeah.
even after they aged out. 3 were available for adoption, so I adopted them. I'm still involved in quite a few of their lives, but yeah, the twins, I was very deliberate in the schools I put them in.
Uh-huh.
So they went to Aiken,
Okay. Yeah.
and they had a class, a legit class, not 20 minutes tacked on to a class on social emotional learning.
Wow.
And in preschool, they had conscious discipline. So they are very empathetic. And I think part of the reason is the village, and part of the reason is the academic curriculum that school provided for them.
Yeah. Yeah. My son also went to Aiken when it first became part of the magnet school program there.
Okay.
That was many years before yours, though.
Yeah, yeah. So
Uh,
yeah, so it's
yeah.
and now my 5-year-old, he's in the lottery. He's number 57 for Aiken, so I don't think he'll be able to get in. But he's number 10 for Sylvan Park, which has a
Yeah.
similar curriculum.
So is you were 50 when you took in this newborn. That
Yes.
and that's at the time when you think finally I've got people out of diapers to start all over
Right.
again has got to be a big decision to make there.
Yeah. So I got a call, and I was at the tail end of my um fostering journey. I thought I was actually pretty much done, and I got a call from a caseworker. So teenagers and newborns are the hardest to place.
Mhm.
And the newborns are hardest to place because you have to their daycares don't take them until 6 weeks.
Mhm.
And even if a daycare does take them, you still lack of sleep, your schedule. And I was in real estate. My real estate career was pretty good, flexible, I should say. And it was COVID,
Mm.
and everything had switched to at home. The flip side of that is it took more effort on my part to get the schooling done because I had 8 or 7 foster kids at home at that time of all different ages. So I had spreadsheets on because things were asynchronous and synchronous.
Mhm.
So I had spreadsheets of all the different logins. And then DCS calls me about this newborn begging me. And I was known for teenagers.
Mhm.
I had never had a newborn besides my twins. And with the teenagers, they could go get their own things. And so I debated. They're like, well, we have no one else. And he's in NICU, and you have to be able to have had certain classes
Mhm.
to get him out of the hospital. And so I took the classes. I had already taken the classes. I had taught some of the classes, kind of said a prayer about it, evaluated my time, and made it work. And for the first 6 weeks when I couldn't put him in daycare, and since it was COVID, he sat in my lap or in my office while I did my Zoom. So all of my clients during that time, and now they're repeat clients, grew up with him. He grew up being on Zoom
Yeah.
and going to listing appointments. I think he was 4 weeks old when I took him on my first listing appointment. So I just rolled with it.
Yeah. You kind of became a sidekick or
Yeah, no, literally, he will come with me. He's like, "Mommy, I wanna talk with your client."
great. That's great. So, uh, what with making this change in not just your household. I mean, not just what you're doing with your life, but your entire household.
Right.
What kinds of things did you do to prepare for that, or did you just kind of wing it? Was it? I mean, obviously, I know that you had to that there were certain things you had to do to satisfy requirements for the foster care program.
Oh,
But
so
as far as like preparing yourself and your family for having these people rotating through your house and that kind of thing.
the fosters in general or him specifically?
Uh, well, yeah, specifically, but then also
The
what you did
So
after
with
that,
him,
having a
I
newborn as
had
well. That
2 hours to prepare. With Christopher, I had 2 hours to prepare. But I happened to have 2, cribs because my foster daughter had just had a baby, was about to have a baby. So we had a crib in my room because she was 14. And so the deal was you go to school, stay in school, participate in extracurriculars, and while you're at doing that, I will watch the baby.
oh, so not just one, you had
I
two
had 2 newborns.
borns that you were dealing with. It, yeah,
Yeah, I had 2 newborns. So I had the I got Christopher in October of 2020, and my foster daughter's child was due December 2020. So to prepare for her daughter, I'd had cribs and everything set up. So I'd had an extra crib. So I literally had 2 hours to decide about Christopher, go to the hospital. I had to go get a car seat, because you can't leave the hospital without one. Um, Called my network and had some newborn stuff given to me. I ran by Target and Walmart because it was 8 o'clock at night and got diapers and yeah, and there it was 2 hours later. But I had a little bit of a jump start and then I had the crib.
yeah. Well, that's still that's so much to take on such short notice and to say yes to in such uh a an immediate situation that's
And he was on the reason I had to take the class is because he was in NICU and he was addicted to I think 8 drugs. So underweight, fragile, you would not know it now.
yeah, that's good. Well, that's an aspect of these life changes that I think a lot of people struggle with is making a quick decision about things. For some people, they're finally taking time to explore something they've entertained for decades, even, and just never did
Right.
anything with it. And then for some people, they do have a massive life change thrust on them, and
Mhm.
you know, I wonder what it took from you to be able to say yes confidently, or if there was no confidence, you just said, yes, almost on a reflex, or what that was like for you. Because I know there are a lot of people out there who are confronted with whether they see them as opportunities or an inevitability that they can't escape. The big life changes happen,
Right.
and feeling like you can move into that and be equipped for it is a challenge.
Yeah, and I think as far as having a newborn in the house, starting over again, I was in the mindset that a newborn was coming in December. I wasn't looking to be, at the time, a newborn parent, more of a newborn grandparent support person, because the young lady who was pregnant, my role with her was gonna be more of mentoring
Yeah.
and then supporting, because she's still a child, and trying to stay out of the way as much as possible while guiding her on how to be a great parent. I I wanted to see what it was like with a singleton,
Yeah.
because I'd had given birth to twins, and which was a whirlwind. I don't remember the first 3 years.
Yeah.
And in the same respect, having 2 little ones in the house, I was like, "Well, it can't be worse than having the
Mhm. Yeah.
twins." So
Well, life
it
had kind of prepared you for it in some ways.
mhm, mhm. I had a double stroller, left over. I knew what it was like to try and coordinate 2 feedings, and so and my one of my fosters at the time had a little girl that was about 4 months older than Christopher, like 4 months earlier, that lived with her mom. Her so I'd had her over. My foster daughter was about to give birth. So I had toys, and I had the exposure. And it was a social worker that I'd worked with before, and she was very convincing. She should be in sales.
Well, I guess I kind of go, that is the only way to really approach that kind of position is to
Yeah.
be able to.
And she knew I had an extra crib. And so that and they'd gone through like 6 families that couldn't take Christopher.
Mm. Is that
They
because
either
of the
didn't have the
special
training.
needs?
Hmm?
Is that because of the special needs?
The special needs, they didn't have the training, or they didn't have the crib, or they didn't have, the time, at that time, because you have to be able to. I was in a flexible economic situation.
Well, doing something like this at any stage, let alone your midlife, it really requires a very special type of person to do it. And I'm sure there aren't a lot of people out there like you who would be willing to take on that kind of responsibility at a time when most people are sending their kids off to college and experiencing an empty nest. Uh, what kinds of things could you say to someone who maybe wasn't considering it, but hears your story and thinks, that's the thing that I've been feeling a nudge toward. I didn't know it, but that's what this is.
Kids are resilient. Um, and in this situation, he's so adapted to my lifestyle, and you and your village. Because I'm having to rely on the village, he doesn't meet a stranger. Now he's not going to trust everybody, but if I introduce someone as part of our village, he trusts me to trust them. And the parent I am now versus the parent I was 15 years ago, I am so, and because of the age, because of the wisdom, like as you get older, you've made your own mistakes and you've hopefully learned from them. I think he's learned them as well, like the wisdom. And he is, I think, the world of all my kids. But I think because of the stage I'm in right now, he's gonna be a lot more wiser than I ever was as he grows up. And as far as my schedule, with real estate, I have a tablet. I give him the tablet. He just kind of hangs out with the tablet. Sometimes he comes in with me and he's learned the lingo and he'll shoot it back at me, which is
That's
hilarious.
that's great.
Um, but if it's in your heart and you've got the village and you lean in on your village, I think it's very doable.
Well, and do you feel that that part of the parenting that that does come easier is because of starting over at this stage doesn't have to
Yeah.
feel like starting over because
No.
you're coming into it with a skill set that you didn't have the first time around?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. And even though I was a later parent, like I had my twins at 40. And so between 40 and 50, I parented 60 kids. And then at 50, I get a newborn. And I parented mostly teenagers. So I really kind of started the cycle at the very beginning. But yeah, because of the your life lessons and because I'd had time to develop myself, even before I start having kids, I'd traveled the world. I'd had relationships. I'd had, with not just partners, but with people. Um, so it's not as insurmountable as it seems, and it's not really inconvenient. You just pivot.
Oh, yeah. Well, what other ways do you feel that the age you are now and the experience that you bring to things, what
Hmm.
what ways has that changed your parenting approach from what you had uh, when you first had your twins, and then maybe
Oh,
some of the falters?
I am, s- I'm that mom. Like literally, he'll go falling, skating. Like he'll fall and face first. I'm like, "Are you breathing? Are you alive? We're good." And even a little blood, you're good. And, I don't sweat the small stuff at all.
Yeah,
I am because I see the value in happiness and fulfillment, that is so much more important now that I see that he is fulfilled as an individual and that the people I surround him with pour into him. I was like that with the twins, but I'm more so with them. And the difference I see, because I have age range of 5 to 22.
no, yeah,
To see, and unfortunately, I didn't get my 22-year-olds until they were like 8, 9, so they had a whole set of trauma. But to see me grow between when they first met me to now as a parent, and my 22-year-old's engaged, and to see him in relationships and interacting with Christopher, the 5-year-old, as he may or may not decide to become a parent. I see those I see those qualities in him.
yeah.
But, yeah, it's been a journey, parenting journey,
Uh-huh.
but I feel, and there are some sacrifices, but I feel at 50, it's a lot less complex than it was when at 40.
Yeah. Are there things that you would do differently if you could go back? Whether that's the amount of time that you waited to even start a family because of your
Yeah,
travels and that kind of thing, or the types of fosters, and when I ask this question, most people say they wouldn't change anything even if they could because it would alter where they are now.
right.
And but if there anything that live and learn you might have done differently to make some part of the process easier.
Yeah. If there were a way I could have speed up my life experiences, but
Okay.
I think all of my life experiences happened at now, I think the right time. It took 10 years for me to get through undergrad, and I was very resentful in my 20s that it took that long. It was because of finances.
Yeah.
And by the time I graduated, my friends were my classmates were in graduate school. They were getting married. They were doing this, and I was still struggling to get my undergrad, and I was very resentful. And then I look back, I'm like, what I didn't learn to enjoy was the journey.
Hmm.
I was too focused on the result, the end result,
Hmm.
and not realizing. So I think I would have appreciated my journey more at a younger age, not necessarily change the journey, but appreciation in it. Because when things happen, I'm more flexible in my thoughts and how I handle it. And back then, I was not. And part of that realization came from fostering that my kids in trauma, when they had to roll with unfortunate things, but when I put them in situations where they were protected, they were resilient and appreciative. I don't know how to explain it, but their journey, they appreciated the whole journey. The
Yeah.
trauma they didn't necessarily want to have to deal with, but because of the trauma, they became a lot more resilient when they were if school didn't go right that day. That's completely easy to deal with versus you witness your mom's boyfriend beat the shit out of her.
Yeah. So they they were able to see the tools that they took away from the trauma and use them in other experiences, and so there was some they made something positive out of a really tragic
Right.
situation. Yeah.
Right. And the journey was I didn't want them because a lot of it wasn't their fault. None of it was their fault why they were in foster care. But I wanted them to realize that it's not their life isn't bad. And that was part of the journey that you're going to learn from and hopefully not have to be a part of again. So through that, I then started appreciating my journey and wishing that at an earlier age, I'd appreciate the journey. And my kids are in their 20s, teens, and 5-year-old preschool. And I think they are so much wiser than me.
Yeah. Uh, Going back, you said that you knew early on that you had always wanted to be connected to the foster system
Hmm.
and imagine, having your own family and that kind of thing. Has any of this turned out the way you expected? I mean, even
No,
yeah, even even
no. So
even though pieces of it are something you maybe strove for, you're not. It didn't play out the way you thought it would.
no, no.
Okay.
So I thought I would be like part of the foster care review board, a volunteer, a CASA advocate with one kid. God laughed and gave me twins to start with. And then I fostered 60.
Yeah.
And then I adopted. And then once they turn 18, they still have needs.
Hmm.
So even those that aged out of foster care still need a lot of support.
Yeah. They don't age out of you.
Um,
Yeah.
so it didn't turn out the way I imagined, but it turned out better.
Yeah. That's great. Well, what would you say is your greatest takeaway from the way things have unfolded for you, uh, with the experiences you've had with the children who've come through your home, uh, and just this wild journey?
Yeah. Like what I'm always impressed with my kids, especially the ones that, well, all of them have gone through crazy trauma is their ability to love even after all of that. So my son Jamal had trauma starting at 5 months old when he had his first stroke, and then seizures, and then abuse, broken bones, concussions. He still has scar tissue on his brain. Um, he was my hardest nut to crack. He was just angry, and all the foster families told him don't be angry. And he said that I was the first home that told him it's okay to be angry. It's how you display that.
Yeah.
Your feelings are very valid. And he had every right to be angry.
Yeah.
Like I was angry for him.
Yeah.
August 21st of 2025, he said, I love you.
Oh, and how long had he been with you at that point?
10 years.
Wow.
And I think I was the first, besides a girlfriend,
Mhm.
that, but I remember that day and we were in the car and I never pushed for that. I waited for it to be organic.
Mhm.
So, and on his terms.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like, I mean, there's it can be a long wait to get the kind of payoff that you want to have as a parent with the, all you invest in them, and
And he showed it before then,
yeah.
but for him to be able to verbalize it and connect it
Yeah.
was a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so how do you navigate that? I think you said that it was that part of the journey into this was learning to love and value yourself so that you had something to give to these children, but the reciprocity,
Yeah.
I think we all engage in relationships seeking or expecting some degree of reciprocity, and when we don't get it, it is very easy to walk away. And these children probably have had a lot of that walking away because they weren't capable
Hmm.
of
Or people say it not follow through.
Yeah.
And I'm a big show me, especially I was just a big show me. I'm going to show you how I love you. I'm not just going to say it. I'm going to show you. And um, my first one of my, I'm still in touch with my first two fosters, and they tease me because Savannah was my first girl, and she was very like, let's plan a party. Here's a card. Here's flowers. Mother's Day, she always got me stuff. That was her love language.
Mhm.
And my love language is, I will give you my last dollar so that you can go through school. Or you want this. You need this. I'm going to provide. I'm going to get a second job. I'm going to get a third job. Like I'm going to provide. And she was the one that would be like, let's throw a party for the kids. Let's let's so I wanted it fit well to be a foster parent and not expect the reciprocity from them in predictable ways.
Mm.
It showed by not biting my head off when I asked to do something that triggered them,
Mm.
or them learning that I'm not going to hurt them, deliberately. I may hurt their feelings because I told them 3 times to close their, clean their room, and now there are consequences, but I was a very show me kind of thing. And so he trusted me enough to say, I love you, knowing that I wasn't going to use him. And that meant a lot. That
Mhm.
meant a lot.
Yeah. Um, is there anything else that you would say to someone who's considering fostering in general, but specifically for someone who is willing to take on this responsibility later in life when everything in their world says this is not the time for it.
Um, I think you have some unique advantages when you're older in that hopefully you've been there, done that as far as not necessarily your bucket list,
Hmm.
but your hierarchy of needs. You've taken care of a lot of things.
Yeah.
And so you're not going to be looking for the child to supply those.
Hmm.
And I think because I was 40 before I had, I had 40 years of just me.
Yeah.
So by the time I had the kids, and then at 50, you have even more wisdom. So I would say if you're in the financial situation, the emotional capacity, um, and you do have some advantages at 50 because you don't put up with a lot
Hmm.
from anyone. It's an opportune time and lean in on your village. Having a 5-year-old at 56, um, does, like dating and things like that. But you value relationships. And so if a relationship's meant to be, they'll work with me with a 5-year-old and 4 other children. But your priorities, I would say your priorities are more in line and you're more committed to your priorities at 50 than say when you were 25.
Hmm. Well, and
There's certain things that are non-negotiable.
yeah, I would think that you have more of a village at 50 than you would at 25.
And not only more of a village, but a quality village.
Yes. Yes.
So it may not be as big of a what you thought. Like the village, your needs of your village at 25 are different than your needs in village at 50, and your priorities at 50 are a lot different as far as the quality that you're looking for. You're
Yeah.
not looking for quantity.
Yeah. No, for
So I
sure.
would say my village is not as big, but it's a lot more powerful.
Yeah. You've had a chance to filter out the filter down to the ones that are really capable and willing to show up for you in ways that mean something.
Yeah, my kids have a network of village. It's amazing. More so than even when I had with just the twins when I was married.
That's amazing. Brianna, thank you so much for sharing your story and the inspiring work you're doing, and the bravery to do it at this stage in life. It's a big deal, and I know it feels natural to you, and that and probably in a lot of ways, it really has kind of flowed naturally out of everything that has come before this. But it is still, that to make a difference in the lives of these kids that probably a lot of other people wouldn't take in because they don't fit what people are looking for when they envision creating a family unit. I think that's just a pretty incredible thing to do.
Oh, thanks, Kara.
Um, I hope that we will get to hear more about your journey, and if you take on another baby, give me a call and let me know. I'm excited
Yeah,
to
I
see
think I
it.
may write a book called Toddlers and Menopause.
Oh, hey, that that I think that would be an exciting read. So yeah, you go
Yeah,
ahead
yeah.
and do it. Well, thank you again. I really appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Kara.
We'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Bye bye.
I'm gonna do something new. I'm gonna turn these wheels in the winds, flying through the endless blue, finding my own way, drinking from new springs, from the mountains high to the valleys low.